Hey everyone, this is Nathan Broeckelman, and this is my Module 12, the case study. And we're just going to hop right into some of these details. So, what is going on in our case study today? We are located in Briardale Elementary. It's a school of about 600 students, and it's K through fifth grade. It's one of 6 elementary schools in the district located in the center of town. It has 2 middle schools and 1 high school. The school serves also as the town's community meeting center, as well as facility for community concerts, town meetings, etc. The high school is also known for its great football teams. It does have great teacher retention with few resignations and transfers. We have it's a very pretty diverse community, so we're told. Usually, there's competition between schools to raise funds for supplementary programs and curriculum. The foundation is formed is chaired by parents who serve as presidents. The parents are very supportive of these supplementary programs, such as art, music, and foreign language. So these foundations try to raise as much money as we can. So, who's involved in this situation? Mr. Santos, who is the principal of Briardale. He provides orientation for Mr. Barley, as well as he's also, when we get to the end of the situation, he's personally embarrassed about the whole thing. Mr. Barley is the new president of the foundation. He's a parent of a student, and he's also a Harvard grad. He's very motivated to raise the money. His former fraternity brother is serving as a president of another elementary, so that kind of adds some competition level to him. He mentions how he and his old fraternity brother used to always be competitive, and his old fraternity brother used to always get the best of him. So he kind of wants to make sure he can try to get the best of him this time. The Briardale students and families are also involved, as they're the ones selling the raffle tickets. What happened here? Basically, for the current school year, a new parent, Mr. Barley, was chosen as president of the Briardale Foundation. During orientation, Mr. Santos informed Mr. Barley of his job as president of the foundation and his responsibility to meet this with the school site curriculum committee. Mr. Barley came up with a unique idea to raise money for the Briardale Foundation from a previous fraternity fundraising activity that raised over $100,000. He was very motivated, as mentioned before, to make the most money ever so that the innovative curriculum programs could be offered in addition to the existing programs. All schools compete, and Mr. Barley wanted to outdo his fraternity brother, which was mentioned earlier. All tickets were sold, and everyone gathered on the night of the raffle drawing at Briardale Elementary. The local sheriff is tipped off that a raffle for cash event was being held at Briardale Elementary, so he showed up just as the first raffle ticket was drawn. Before all this happened, he did go to he did come up with a strategy for selling raffle tickets for a chance to win, and he went to the foundation and proposed his fundraising idea, and they were all in support. So the members of the foundation were in support of this. But as soon as the first ticket was drawn, Mr. Barley was arrested and later convicted of a misdemeanor, and he was placed on probation for his role in the raffle for cash event. Mr. Santos was very personally embarrassed as the debacle ended up on the front page of the newspaper, and it kind of left an indelible mark on the Briardale Foundation. So the school's in a little bit of hot water. They're on the front page of the paper. Not looking very good for Mr. Santos, Mr. Barley. As far as legal and ethical issues, there's no physical injuries, but Mr. Barley was arrested and convicted of a misdemeanor, so that'll be on his record. Raffle for cash events is illegal in Kansas for nonprofit educational organization without a charitable raffle license. So if they didn't have a license, they couldn't do it. But it could also contradict the school policy, as we do not know what the school policy is on fundraising or on whether they can hold raffles or not for the schools anyways. Was there a breach of contract? Possibly. Mr. Santos did not properly look into the fundraisers, so this would not necessarily be a breach of contract unless it was written in the board policy that it had to be approved by him. So if he approved this and it ended up being something that was against board policy, that could be a breach of contract for Mr. Santos. Mr. Barley is just serving as the president of a fundraising committee. He should probably need to resign from that position, but I don't think there are necessarily any policies for that position either, as we're not told that. But there should probably be some policies in place for the board that serves for the foundation. So what has happened in one sentence? In an effort to outdo his old Harvard fraternity brother, Mr. Barley holds the biggest fundraiser in Briardale Elementary history by doing a raffle for cash event, but unfortunately did not go through all the proper channels and gets arrested and convicted of a misdemeanor, embarrassing Mr. Santos, the principal, and the rest of the Briardale Elementary School staff, student, and families. So back to some facts about the scenario. We know the principal and the president. What we don't know is the superintendent or any other administrators. And we also don't know any of the other board members on the Briardale Foundation. We said that they got the approval, but we don't know who those people are. We know that it's at Briardale Elementary, which is one of six, roughly 600 students, middle of town. What we don't know is it says it's a diverse community, but we don't really know what that means. Is it a rich and poor community, or are they talking about race? Are they talking about just any other thing that has to do with the diverse community? Is it are they more white collar or blue collar? It just says diverse. We don't really know what that entails as far as the community itself. What do we know about the program? It's K-5. The Briardale Found or 6. The Briardale Foundation uses fundraisers for supplementary curriculum programs, and it is a public school. The main thing I didn't really know about the program is how many are involved in the foundation. How many board members, how many parents help out with the Briardale Foundation. So prioritizing some information here. The situation that has happened is damaging to the following stakeholders and community members. Mr. Barley. Mr. Barley obviously was arrested for a misdemeanor, so that's going to go on his record, whether he knew it was illegal or not. Unfortunately, it was leaked, I guess you could say, is what we were told to the sheriff. So unfortunately, Mr. Barley had to take the brunt of that misdemeanor and the conviction there. What else is damaging is the funding for the extracurricular activities and supplemental programs. Since this was the fundraiser for that, we don't really know what's going to happen. That's probably really the bigger issue, in my opinion, is where are we going to get the money to keep these programs afloat for Briardale and the kids that are at stake. Mr. Santos' reputation is probably damaged a little bit as far as approving this fundraiser and saying that it was a good thing to do. If he would have looked into it a little bit more, he may have been able to prevent the whole thing to begin with and just not have to worry about being on the front page of the newspaper. Not all the stakeholders necessarily have been consulted with. The superintendent may not have known what was going on. So we don't know if he had to get approval of that. We also don't know what the policies are at the school or the district, for that matter, when it comes to fundraisers. So we're kind of missing some information there. So that kind of leads us to kind of trying to come up with some options. So option number 1, do nothing and try and figure out a way to get the money for the supplemental activities. Option 2, dismantle the foundation, take the fundraising on myself in order to get money for supplemental activities and just do everything by myself. Or option 3, reorganize the foundation, replan a fundraiser with help of remaining committee members, verify and improve policies. And so basically some evaluation of this. Option 1, let it all blow over. Everything will be fine. There won't be any policy changing. We're just going to assume everything is going to be fine. Let the news blow over. And hopefully, eventually, we're just kind of it's a laughing matter later on down the road. And we just learn from our mistakes. Option 2 is the overreaction. Now all the extra funding would rely on myself. It would cause more stress, longer hours. I would not have any outside help necessarily. I'm just going to take it all on myself and not ask for any help to make sure I'm the one that's in charge, so that if my name's on it, that I'm the one that would. So this way I just make sure instead of passing on some responsibilities. And then the last one, working together for the best opportunity for kids. And I think that's ultimately the goal, is to do what's best for kids. So what that would kind of entail is we would need to, update some board policies and procedures, make sure everyone is following these policies, find a new fundraiser to fund the supplemental activities for this year, use the remaining board members of the foundation to try and move past the mistake and improve the score. So in my opinion, the best option is number 3, not to do anything. We don't want to just let it blow over. We also don't want to just overreact, but we want to make sure we reorganize the foundation, keep that intact, because I think it is a good organization. We just maybe overlooked a little bit here. Replan a fundraiser with help of remaining committee members. Like we said, we don't know how many there are, but we do know that there are people there that are still willing to help. And then we also want to verify and improve some policies. So, how would I go about implementing this? We need to look at the current board policies. This might take some collaboration with other administrators in the district, but we need to look for changes that need to be made to make sure we are within the policies for the future, and so that we can make sure we're staying within the means of what the school is asking us to do, as well as being legally and ethically inclined to raise money for these supplemental activities. We need to reconvene the rest of the foundation board members. Some of them may have been super on board with Mr. Barley, but I would sure hope that they would come back alongside and try to do what's best for kids and try to come up with some new fundraising ideas to make sure we can still fund the supplemental activities. We may check some other funds for some monies to help support and help supplement for the lost amount of time for fundraising. I'm sure we don't really have a time frame as how long this raffle took place, but I would imagine that there's some lost time when it comes to the fundraising part of the supplemental programs for that school year. And I think also you might need to issue a public statement of maybe what happened and why. Make sure your superintendent is okay with you doing this, and it gets the approval. You get the approval from him of what you're going to say to the public. If you were on the front page, obviously it's going to be the talk of the town. So you need to kind of take ownership in what happened. As this, if I'm Mr. Santos, this would be my school. So it did happen in my school. It happened under my watch. So I need to be able to take ownership of what happened and hopefully improve and do a better job for the future, especially to do what's best for the kids. And we would just want to, if they're counting on those supplemental programs to maybe help gauge some interest for what they maybe want to do when they get older. There's never too early to just start letting little kids, or not little, but letting elementary school kids explore the different options. We need to just make sure we give the students the best opportunity we can while they're attending our school. And that's it for the case study. I just want to thank you for your time and have a great day.